Hello fellow trainers, Nash here, and in today's video we're talking Pokemon types. This video is part of a brand new series where we'll be uncovering the basics on how to properly care for, train, and battle your Pokemon. I decided to make this video series after introducing my lovely mother to Pokemon, and it quickly became apparent that she had no clue what she was doing in the games. As a veteran player, it's hard to remember just how tough those first gyms were. I remember training up my Torterra before the first gym to level 100 because I didn't know what type matchups were and I was very scared. So the intentions of this series is to start nice and simple. We're going to go back to the basics and build up from there. So for you veteran players, it's maybe a bit basic to start off with, but I'm sure as we go you'll probably learn some new stuff. Today we're starting at square one, like literally square one. We're going to be talking about type matchups. A Pokemon can have one or two types, depending on the species. Take for example our Charmander here. Charmander is a fire type, if it wasn't already obvious from the flaming tail, but he has no second type. Unlike our Wingull here. Wingull is a dual type. He has both water and flying, hence being a water bird. So you may be thinking, well, cool. Two types? Better than one type? Well, not necessarily. You'll see later in the video why two types might not be as good as one type, depending on the type matchup. For now, let's just have a look at another Pokemon. Here's Pikachu. Pikachu is an electric type, so when battling, Pokemon like Mr. Pikachu here can learn up to 4 moves, and that move will have its own type. So unlike Wingull from before, Pokemon's moves can only be one type. They can't be two, like Wingull. So you won't see a water and a flying type move. You only see a water move, a flying move, or for example, what Pikachu has is Thunderbolt, which is an electric type move. Oh wow, a Squirtle. Squirtle's a water type, just like Wingull, except for without the flying. He's just a pure water type. Electric types, like Pikachu, are super effective or really strong against water types, like Squirtle. So, Mr. Pikachu, could you use Thunderbolt for us? Wow, it was super effective! Whenever you see it was super effective, that means you did a good job. That means it's double the damage that it would usually be. But, if Pikachu were to use Thunderbolt against a Pokemon with a type that electric is weak to, for example, the grass type Turtwig, oh no, it's not very effective. It would do half the usual damage as you just saw there. Grass resists electric. So if we use Thunderbolt on a Pokemon with a type that electric is neither good or bad against, like Charmander that we met before, it does just the normal amount of damage, somewhere in between what Thunderbolt did to Squirtle and what Thunderbolt did to Turtwig. Some types can in fact be immune completely to damage from other types. For example, the ground types like Hippopotas here won't take any damage from electric type moves like Thunderbolt. So far, we've only looked at Pokemon with one type, but remember, some Pokemon can have two types. Let's look at Wingull for example. He's both water and flying type. Both of these types are weak to electric. That means electric is super effective or does double the damage to both water and electric. So if Pikachu were to use Thunderbolt against this poor little Wingull here, Wingull would take 4 times the damage or quadruple the damage. In the newest released Pokemon games, we have 18 types, each with their individual strengths and weaknesses. That's a lot of types, and is quite confronting when a new player jumps into the game and sees 18 different types that they have to suddenly learn. If you can master type matchups and learn how all of these types interact, which is strong and which is weak against each other, then you'll quickly see rapid growth in your battle technique. Many beginners use what's called a type chart. These type charts are quick and easy ways to identify which types are good and which types are bad matchups for your Pokemon or for the enemy Pokemon. And then you can plan accordingly. You can find these type charts all over the internet. Some are better than others and less confusing, but you should look around and find one that's useful for you. Also of note is that in many of the new games, after you've battled a Pokemon for the first time, every subsequent battle that you do against that Pokemon, your moves will come up telling you effective, not very effective, or super effective. This is a quick and easy way for you to identify which types are good and which types are bad, so you can play around with Pokemon that you already know the type of and that you've battled before. By playing around in the game, you'll get hands-on experience on what Pokemon are good matchups against which Pokemon you're using, and which Pokemon you want to stay away from, or maybe swap out for another member of your party, so that you can find the right matchup and use the super effective move rather than the not very effective move. And that's the basic gist of type matchups. Find a move that's super effective against the enemy move, send that Pokemon in, and destroy the enemy. It sounds simple, but there's more complicated things at work here that we'll talk about in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you maybe understood a little bit more about type matchups. We're going to be doing a interesting series hopefully in the future where we'll look at one type per video, and I'll bring on a guest to talk about their experiences in that type, and we'll figure out what's strong and what's weak for that type specifically. I'll see you guys in the next video, and keep catching Pokemon!